the Rokan Show with Anna DeBlancis right here on 720 WGN. All right. We were on the World Wide Web before that. If the White Sox are on and we are scheduled to be on the radio, you can always find us at WGNradio.com on the WGN app for your mobile device. And also, I think this is very, very important, WGN Radio on TuneIn. Any of those, ask your smart speaker to get it for you, or find it on your phone, find it on your iPad, your computer, whatever it is. It's WGN everywhere. All right, Tom Skilling is joining us right now. And Tom, we were calling on you a little bit earlier, but we had a technical malfunction because of the World Wide Web. We're going to get this all worked out. We are, I promise.
We'll figure it out.
Were you trying to call me? Seriously?
Yeah, we were at the top of the hour. We did we started the show as though we're on the radio, and and so we were going to you for the live weather at the top of the hour, and that didn't. I think they had programmed it over. There's so many dials and buttons now associated with all of this,
and platforms and all. We mix them all up.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because on my little box here, I was getting the White Sox game, but
you were getting the radio, as opposed to the stream version.
Yes,
the program coming out of here. Yeah, I know. It is. You know what? It's a crazy thing. I gotta say something, Tom. When you and I started in this business, the only platforms we worried about were on our feet.
Well, we had those.
Hello.
We had those little.
Oh, I got you there.
We had those little, tin cans with the strings out of them. To our.
Yeah, but it was simpler time.
Yeah.
Now you have more forecasting equipment than you probably know what to do with.
Yeah. And Alexander Graham Bell came along, and look where we went. Ro and I remember
yes.
that.
Oi! Alexander Graham Bell here.
Yeah,
right. No, you probably... No, he's number 2. I'm 1.
No.
You should call 2. That is a great commercial.
It really
is. So good. I love
it is.
Yeah.
You know what else is great is this bank commercial that just ran, where the guy says, wait a minute, this form, he's applying for a loan, is 25 pages long. Oh, she said, that's right. I gave you the short version. And he said, you want my high school grades for this?
Yeah.
And,
that is the late, great Dick Orkin.
He is marvelous. He was, yes.
Yes. He was, for long.
Yeah.
You got to be of a certain age to know Chicken Man and all that.
Chicken Man, sure.
He was a big radio personality here in Chicago in the 60s. And then he went off to be the voice of these commercials. And every radio commercial that you have enjoyed.
Yeah.
Is First American Bank, which he's been doing for years and years and years. He does he did all kinds of things, but it was always funny. It's always brilliantly constructed.
Amazing.
Uses the same radio and animation stars. Those are all people that work in in cartoons as well that he had out in L.A. It was great. It just couldn't. That guy is a first ballot Hall of Fame broadcast legend.
Yeah, one of the originals. So they're like Paul Harvey and many of these amazing broadcasters. Right. Howard Cosell and
But what, Tom? While you couldn't hear us before, we were talking about you. Actually, your name came up with John.
Maybe it's better I didn't hear.
Well, you'll see because we'll tell you. We have a question for you. John Williams was asking us, and we thought your name came up, and we said, "Well, what's about favorite drinks?" And we said, "Well, I wonder what Tom Skilling's favorite go-to adult beverage would be."
Like you were at a bar or you were at home, you're going to do one thing. What would it be?
Well, what is it? An amaretto
sour?
Sweet, yeah. I like that. I go for these sweet things. I don't drink very often. I'm not much of a drinker, but so
the taste becomes the issue.
It does. Yeah. It's pretty important. And when it comes to wines, I like Zinfandel and stuff like that. I just something sweet.
Like the sweeter ones. Like
Yes.
Like the White Zin, which has got it's kind of a pinkish color.
Yeah. How about you guys? What did you say?
We'll drink anything.
Whatever Ro buys us.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
I see.
It doesn't really end.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ro knows how to pick out wines. So whenever we go to his house, we all have the nice wines.
Did you study that on your own? I have friends who've gone to courses for that, Ro, or did you just develop it through
it's just years of experience, Tom.
Years of personal trial and error.
Yeah, it's been 54 minutes. It's been 3 decades of learning what I like and I don't like. And then, I don't know, you get to a point where you go to these fancy ass parties,
right?
And they're serving something. You're like, well, how come? Why don't I know about this?
Yeah.
And so you take mental notes, and then you kind of figure it out.
Right.
Anyway. And we did actually. I'll tell you where I learned a lot. Who was really great. We had the Wine Whisperer here on this radio program for the last couple of years, who works at Binny's.
Yeah,
and Kristen Ellis is amazing. She's one of those top level sommeliers.
Yes.
And she figured out for us, she would create stuff for us for our parties and for stuff that we were doing on the air and for events that we were doing. And not expensive. Not expensive stuff at all.
Which is interesting, isn't
right?
It?
It's just as good as a bottle you're going to pay $100 for, and you're going to get it for $19.
You often hear that. You don't have to pay through the teeth for it.
No,
you can get some really quality wines. I always feel so ignorant when I go to a meal and somebody there says, "Now, what kind of wine would?" And they know what they're talking about,
right?
And when I come up with something like Boone's Farm or something like that, remember that they used to sell years ago?
Yeah, Blue Nun.
A Ripple or jeez, I'd almost forgotten about
Mad Dog 2020.
That's college.
Yeah,
people drink that.
That's the good stuff.
They pull that out. All the flavors.
Kevin checks it.
Kevin's like, I know that.
Yeah, college, that stuff is cheap and it works.
I'll tell you.
But don't they have those wild flavors like bubble gum
it's not
and
really
grape?
wine.
And
it's like in a grown-up juice drink type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, what replaced it, though, with the kids these days, and for a while I was doing it too, but which was and then thank God there was medical intervention because was Red Bull and vodka.
Oh yeah, that became very popular.
Four Loko was crazy with kids our age, and then I think they got banned from most shelves, or they had to redo the recipe because that was like an energy drink mixed with booze.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "Well, this is great. We can just drink this and get us going for the day."
Yeah, I found out the hard way that both things can kill you on their own, and when you combine them together. Not so good.
It's essentially liquid rat poison.
Yeah.
Right. But now the craft beers have so much alcohol in them, don't they? That you don't really need to go to the stronger, to the hard
some
alcohol.
of those you're looking at like 10%. Some of those stouts and porters you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like gasoline.
See, I have trouble enough performing just without chemical alteration. So I figure don't you're playing with fire skilling if you get into this other stuff.
But are you having a lot
on a Saturday night? You'll I know that like we were talking about at the party for Sepulsa or whatever.
Right.
If everybody's having a cocktail, you have a cocktail or a
Exactly,
glass of wine or whatever. It lessens the mood.
I find I start laughing a lot.
Oh God,
that's
giggler.
Yeah.
That's good. You're happy.
My roommates have videotaped that, or with their phones, or taped it with their phones, and this is quite a conversation piece.
Oh God!
And how do you think you look, or how do you?
Stupid. Might as well not beat around the bush, Anna. How about you, Anna? What is your purpose?
How am I? You guys have seen me when we all have our beverages together.
You're pretty much a wine. Although.
Not a whiner, just you drink wine.
Yeah. I love good wine. So it's kind of nice when someone like Ro picks it out, and or the Kristen Ellis comes by and she recommends wines and she recommends wines that are reasonable too. And so I just enjoy it.
No reason not to do it.
I think I get more mellow and probably happy.
Yeah. I've had to kind of take the harder stuff and move it over to the side. Now, you get to a certain age.
Yeah,
and you're
I know.
Like,
we get older.
I'll give it one because it's going to hurt the next day. But
didn't they? And they continue to think, right? That we always marveled at the French and the butter and the beautiful French cuisine. I mean, delicious French cuisine. Mm-hmm. But they always said that and we marvel at the fact with all the butter and all and oils and all in the food that people don't get sick more, don't have more cardiovascular problems. And they said, well, it's probably because wine is.
The wine. They think it's but
is that still holding
a certain
up?
Point, yeah. And it generally is red wine.
Red wine,
that's right.
And it is red wine. And when they say moderation, they really mean it. They mean a glass, maybe two. Anything over two has the exact opposite effect.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that's you.
I learned that the hard way last night.
It's kind of like a liquid Roto-Rooter for your arterial system.
Ooh, for everything.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You get to, again, you get to a certain age, you're like, hey, what did I, you wake up. Everybody does this, you wake up and go, what did I just, oh, no.
My new favorite drink is Rob Roy's.
Really?
Yeah, that's a Manhattan with scotch.
Mm-hmm. Oh. So good.
Yeah.
That's a powerful drink.
Yeah.
I recommend Miller Lite if anybody hasn't tried that. Very refreshing.
Kevin is Miller Lite, so I mean, you got to have one.
Kevin sticks with the basics, you know. Just
it sort of depends on who I'm with. You know, like my dad likes a little brown water, a little bourbon. So if I'm with him, I'll dabble in that. Ro's pretty much got everything. So with Ro, it's like
it's wonderful.
It's a trip around the alcohol
Now,
world.
what do you say about the Miller Lite, Kevin?
It's spelled different because it's brewed different, folks.
Yeah, exactly. That's right, Kev.
Do you know I had a friend who worked up at the Miller Brewing Company in Milwaukee, and they said that they allowed them to drink beer on their breaks up there. It was
doing God's work up there.
Milwaukee. They're trying to prove something. Well, the same thing at Anheuser-Busch, too.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Same thing?
Same thing.
Wow.
And then they would, and at Anheuser-Busch, when you get off your shift, you could go to like the beer hall and have a beer or two.
Wow.
And then go home. And then I think they may have started to frown on that. Now, the St. Louis Cardinals had a tragedy surrounding this because they used to do that after the game, too, because they were owned by the Busch, the Busch family. Mm-hmm. And they would have just beer, just gigantic iced like trays of beer that would come in, big buckets of beer in the locker room. So when they got off the field, they drink beer, and then they had a guy, drunk drive himself into a catastrophe.
Oh boy!
So they've stopped that. But I don't want to bring anybody down. But that was the thing, is that it was like, okay. Although in our business, I mean, everybody would, you'd go back to like that Mad Men thing. And they go, oh, well, that stopped in the 60s or 70s.
No, it's true.
It didn't.
In broadcasting, you're right. I mean, it seemed like for a while, everyone gets together after you work unusual shifts, right? So you get off at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and everybody, none of your friends are really out on a Tuesday night and Wednesday night. So everyone goes out, and there's a camaraderie about it. But there's a lot of, imbibing.
Well, isn't that was always associated with, the newspapermen, too.
Sure.
The Billy Goat and all. Yeah. And a lot of discussion and stories were discussed there.
Everybody loves the alcohol. Now they go to the Trump Hotel in Washington and pay $30 for a martini.
I can't imagine that. $30.
So they can be seen there, take a picture of themselves, and then Trump hashtag Trump 2020 right there, and that's how it goes.
Oh gosh,
they get the security clearances that he took away from everybody else. All right, Tom, we will see you tomorrow. Anything that we need to know about it? A little bit of rain moving through, right?
Yeah, these little thunderstorms, very light winds aloft, a lot of humidity in the air. They won't be regular. They won't appear regularly. There'll be gaps between them. But if you get under one of these, there's the potential there for some downpours. So we'll see them off and on right through the next 36 hours. The weekend looks great.
Oh,
for the Air and Water Show.
Oh, perfect.
Yes,
great.
I
look forward. It's my favorite event of the year here.
It's very cool.
Yeah. All right, and we're going to have Sean Tucker on tomorrow, the Oracle guy, the guy that does all those crazy things in a single engine prop plane.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh, it's insane what he does.
Wasn't that story about the Horizon Air hijacking and all that in Seattle something else? I know we're closing off here, so I shouldn't bring up a new subject, but that was pretty weird.
You've been in this business 40 years, Tom.
Now you're allowed to do anything you want.
Yeah, you can do it, right. We can break format now.
I know. Yeah, Skilling's gone up.
Tom has to play polka music.
Yeah, he's gone down another one of these verbal cul-de-sacs. Just gotten himself in one.
I hope you get a lot more cake, because you can't stop. You got to celebrate all week.
Gosh.
I mean, wow, those cakes look fantastic.
Oh, they were marvelous. I didn't have, we were so busy talking and all and celebrating, I didn't have the time to eat all of it, but I took little samples and they were good. I wish I could have gotten you some.
All right.
Talk to you later,
Thank
guys.
you, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
Bye, Anna.
Here is the great Judy Pilak with the WGN News at the top of the hour. What are the headlines?
Fire Madigan, the mantra at today's Illinois State Fair.
Was it Democrat Day down there today? Or was it Republican Day?
Well, what do you think?
Well, I don't know, because I don't know.
Republican Day.
All right, because you never know.
Tomorrow it'll be Fire Rauner.
Yeah.
Because it'll be Democrat.
Might be Fire Madigan, too.
Possibly.
Before it's all said and done. All right, here's Violetta.